Welcome everyone to Defender for Cloud in the Field. Today is going to be our first episode post Ignite. As you probably know, there was a lot of things that happened at Ignite, so I'm very excited about the follow-up episodes that will come with that. But before we talk about what is this episode about, I just want to say thank you for all subscribers. And if you are returning to this show, thank you very much. If you are new to this show, make sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button at the Microsoft Security channel, in particular with the playlist below that I'm putting the link right now. Make sure to subscribe to that. And with that, let's start, because today we have a very interesting episode with someone that actually came to this show in the past. My friend Daniel Davrayev. Daniel, thank you very much for being on.
Hey Yuri, excited to be here again. My favorite show.
Awesome. Well, Daniel, it's a pleasure and interesting because last time we talked, you were actually in a different role. So I want you to reintroduce yourself again. Tell me what you're doing these days.
So you're right. I was actually a security researcher last time we talked in the Microsoft Defender for Cloud, and now I'm a product management part of Defender for Containers, and I'm leading the entire cloud detection and response experience for containers in XDR. And I'm very excited to present here the demo today.
Awesome. And we're going to have a demo for sure. But before we go to the demo, let's talk about what is the main goal behind this end-to-end experience around cloud detection and response for container, and how that's really address the current SOC challenges.
So basically, we had a lot of discussions with different customers about the entire incident response lifecycle and how the day-to-day of the SOC teams are where it comes to cloud-related incidents, and what are the key challenges when it comes to cloud-related incidents. And based on the knowledge that we gathered from and feedback, we learned few key things. The first of all, it's the importance of context and how providing business criticality context and more stuff is very crucial when you are deciding and triaging a specific incident in the cloud. Another key area is providing the right set of tools for the SOC teams when it comes to responding to cloud-related incidents. This is another address that we will show in this demo with our new cloud detection and response capabilities. More than that is our new investigation events that we will also provide, such as process events, kube audit, control plane logs. All these events will be available for deeper investigation and analysis when an incident occurs. All this stuff and more will be available in the XDR portal, which we will also provide some material to provide to help with knowledge gaps, such as new threat analytics report, guided response with Copilot, and more stuff.
That's awesome. I'm curious to understand what are the main components of this. I'm going to call CDR, right? Cloud Detection and Response from now on, just to make it easier. So what are the main components in Defender for Cloud?
Definitely. So to understand better the reason for why do we deliver the main components, let's talk about the incident response lifecycle. So if we are talking about incident response, every SOC team basically are doing 5 steps when they are having an incident. The first step is the triage. They are assessing the incident to better understand if that is a true positive incident that they should take action against, and will try to contain it, or not, or maybe it's a false positive or just a simulation or a benign activity. If it's indeed a true positive incident, we will then move forward to the next step, which is the contain. The SOC team don't want to understand all the attack and how it happened. The first thing they want to do is contain the attack, stop it from evolving and impacting more resources in their environment. This is why our main first component would be the new cloud native response actions, such as pod network isolation or pod termination, that will be released in a very simple click through the XDR portal. After containing the incident successfully, the next phase is obviously better understand how the attacker leveraged to infiltrate our environment. What exactly did the attacker touch? Did any sensitive data was exfiltrated? How it all happened? And all these important investigation things is done in the investigation phase. And for that, we are actually also providing more seamless capabilities such as Go Hunt. From now, you can actually click on specific entities, and with a built-in queries, a list of the important events will be listed on the specific entity. For example, you want to see all the user activities on a specific Kubernetes cluster or in a specific storage account. With a click of a button, you will see it all in the incident page. Moreover, you want to create custom rule detection. You want to use the new events that we are ingested for proactive threat hunting. All is available in advanced hunting, such as the new process events that we are ingesting for multi-cloud. You will have it whether your AKS cluster is you have an AKS cluster or GKE or EKS, and obviously also the kube audit and the control plane logs.
Outstanding. Um, there is a new capability called Cloud Native Response Actions for Kubernetes. Can you elaborate more? What is this about, and also how this capability actually helps the SOC team to handle incidents?
So perfect. As we mentioned those steps, when we are talking about containing or even when we are talking about response action, there are pretty much three critical areas that we can call response. The first one is around containment. You want to have the right set of tools to contain the attack and prevent it from evolving. This is why we want to provide such capabilities in action, such as network isolation, which could be it's very similar to isolating a device if we are talking about the endpoint area, or disabling a user. All this containment action, we want to have those for the cloud. So network isolation is one of them, which will be deployed by deploying a network policy in your AKS cluster. Another component would be a terminate action. In some areas, you know that this malicious pod was spawned up, you want to terminate it. You want that attack to stop immediately. There is the difference, the main difference between isolating a pod and terminating a pod, it could be in different scenarios. For example, when you are having an attack and you actually want to preserve evidence, you would prefer to obviously isolate the pod and then go to it and try to collect some evidence and to better understand if this pod is really compromised and if you can remediate that. We also, when we talk about response action in containers, it's important to understand the business criticality aspect. When we talk about response actions, we can't really respond in many areas the entire node because it could actually impact a really critical business component. This is why we are starting with a pod isolation, which does provide the security value, but it also provides enough risk when it comes to the business criticality aspect. So, and obviously, those isolation actions are reversible. Sometimes you are taking the action, you check everything is fine, or you remediate the thread, and you want the pod to be back to the live state. So, as simple as that, you just release it from isolation, and everything is back to normal.
That's awesome, my friend. I love this. That's really a capability that's going to help a lot the SOC teams. There are new event logs that are being collected for deeper analysis. Can you elaborate more on how these events will enhance the investigation capabilities, and also if they are available for custom rule creation, right?
Yes, so I was touching it a bit at the start, but let's dive deep into that. So when it comes to investigation, events are the most important aspect when for SOC analysts. They want to have evidence. They want to see the event flow, what exactly happened. And for that, there are three critical areas that we studied on. The first one is the control plane event or Azure activity, for example. You want, for example, to see which users have created new cluster, deleted new cluster. Maybe they list some cluster admin credentials, or they have list key to storage account. And all these control plane logs are now ingested to the event hunting. Moreover, in some aspects, when we talk about containers, the entire APIs that are being happening inside the AKS cluster or GKE cluster, no matter what environment you are using, is also being ingested. So you could check which APIs were happening in that environment. Maybe you could see some unique or malicious activities in the kube audit events. Last but not least, process. We know how everything eventually will come to the process events, and some malicious script will be running. So process is like the most critical aspect when it comes to investigation of what run in the environment, and this is also will be ingested. And of course, everything that I was mentioning here is available for custom rule creation, and we will cover that in our demo as well.
Well, I have one more question, but I'm very curious about the demo, so I'll leave the last question to the end. Let's go ahead and go to the demo.
Okay, perfect. So I guess many of you are aware about the Defender portal, and one of the aspects one of the most used blade for security analyst persona is the incident blade. So basically, when we talk about how security analysts and SOC analysts day to day, they are looking at this blade, they are triaging the entire incident queue, and they are picking the specific incident that they are curious about. And let's pick one of them. For example, we have here the multi-stage involving initial access. Let's click on it. So as you can see, we have here the entire attack story, which correlates the entire alerts that built this incident. You can see in the left pane all the alerts that were triggered based on the time of their when they happened. In the middle, we have the incident graph, which contains all the entities that are being extracted for the alerts and the connections between them. So you have a better understanding how it's all being connected. And at the right side, we have more details about what are we dealing with here. So first thing about the alert themselves, it's important to mention that we are now adding more coverage for Defender for Containers with our new events that we are starting to ingest. We can see here some new detections such as possible web shell activity, Kubernetes CPU optimization. Those are high fidelity alerts that could indicate a malicious activity, usually around crypto mining and so on. And it's important to mention that some of these alerts are actually near real time. So in less than a minute from the event to be generated, the alert will be triggered and be already available in the Defender portal. Let's go deeper in. Before diving deeper to the capability itself, I want to show you another cool thing when we are trying to address the knowledge gaps that we know security security analysts are usually having with. So we are now releasing an overview of the entire threat around containers. And now attackers are actually leveraging containers for their malicious actions. If you will click on the View Analytics report, this is the first report that is dedicated for containers, which have a general knowledge of what a security analyst should expect in this attack. So here is the overview of the new analytics report. Basically, you can have here the executive summary of what are container-related threats. You could see here the technique overview. You could see exactly what are the kinds of attacks that attackers are usually doing around containers, how they are leveraging containers to run their malicious actions. But it doesn't stop there. We actually providing prevention methods. We're providing also recommendations how to respond to these threats. We also have here the entire Microsoft Kubernetes threat matrix, which will list all the techniques that are related for Kubernetes that the attacking are leveraging. And also you can have some advanced hunting queries that you could use to better understand what data do you have for you to use when it comes to investigating. So this is like the first report. It's a bit an overview of all the threat landscape around containers, and soon we will have more dedicated ones as well. So let's go back to our incident. So as we talked about, we have the entire incident here, and we mentioned our new response actions. So as you can see, here is our pod. Once we click on the pod, you can see a few things. First of all, you can see all the details regarding that pod, but you also can see our new cool response actions. We have two of them, the pod isolation and pod termination. You could take the action whether it's from the graph itself, which you go to the action, or you can take it from the side panel. Once you click on any of these actions, let's take, for example, the isolation one, a pop-up model will be open up, which will give you a bit of a detail. As you can see, this isolation action specifically is revertible. So if you will take the isolation, you will have to write a comment. And you confirm the action. Now, within seconds, the pod will be isolated. Obviously, it's very important to mention that all these actions are trackable through the Action Center, which we'll cover in a sec. And it all happens within seconds. Let me go to the Action Center, which is listed here. We are going to the history. And we can see it here. As you can see, in the Action Center, you will have who is the user that submitted the action. When exactly is that happened? What pod does the isolation happen for? And the comment and the reason why exactly the isolation happened. Obviously, as we mentioned, the isolation can be also released. So if we want to release it, we can do it from the Action Center itself, or we can even go back to the incident itself and just release it, whatever you prefer and comfortable for you. Let's go back to our incident. And if we are choosing to release it, let's click. As you can see, the indication that this pod is isolated. And now we want to release it from isolation. Release it from isolation. And obviously, this will be tracked as well. And will take a few seconds to run. Perfect. Now we covered the new isolation. This is the similar process also for termination. If we want to terminate the pod, this is actually the same process. You provide a comment, and within seconds, the pod will be terminated. Let's move on to the next phase. As we mentioned, we are containing the attack, so the pod is now isolated, but we want to have a deeper understanding on what exactly happened. We want to have a deeper investigation on which events occurred. So we have two possible ways to do so. The first one is obviously through the incident itself. We are now providing also the Go Hunt experience with some built-in queries on specific activity that may happen in this cluster. So for example, we can see that there is no data available because this specific cluster is a demo cluster, but we can also go to the events hunting, and we have all the events available and all the tables available. So for example, if we want to see which process events we're running on that container, we can go to the cloud process events, filter for this specific pod, and we will see all the specific processes that run in the specific time of the alert. This is also very similar to the cloud audit events. In the cloud audit events, you can see both control plane, such as Azure Activity, or Kube audit, which is the APIs, and so on. As you can see here, you can filter based on the data source, which exactly you want, the Azure logs or the AKS, GKE, EKS logs, and you will see all the specific operations that were happening on the specific cluster. And that sums up our entire investigation process. Another cool thing that I want to show you before we finish up is our, let me just open it, is our new Copilot experience, which is also very cool and helps when it comes to investigating and better understand what we are dealing with. So we are now providing a guided response, which is a step-by-step process on how you should approach when this specific incident occurs. This might help with also battling with the knowledge gap that security analysts sometimes do around the cloud and container specific. So once we are going to the incident itself, you can see all the specific Copilot steps will be shown here. You can see the incident summary, which provides a summary of exactly all what happened, but also you can see some specific information. For example, we can suggest here to terminate or isolate this specific pod because it used for malicious actions.
This was outstanding, my friend. Absolutely awesome. Congratulations for having this new capability out there. I know that you and the team worked really hard for this, so I appreciate all the work, and I'm pretty sure the customers will appreciate as well. Uh,
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. With that, I want to have one final thought because I think this is more like envisioning and things like that. How do you envision, how you think about the CDR experience evolving in the future, and particularly, what's the feedback has been so far?
So that's actually a very interesting question. So I think when we started to talk about our discussion, we mentioned like the key challenges that the SOC team has around cloud detection and response and the entire incident lifecycle for cloud. And when we think about the future of CDR, we want to provide more context, such as criticality context or persona context. For example, who is the owner of that resource? Shift left context, when was the last deployment? When was this pod created? And all these stuff would be very critical when we talk about the future of CDR. Another key area, I believe, would be with the tooling. We want to provide new actions that will help SOC through the investigation process, such as collecting some specific artifacts that might help in better understanding whether this specific pod or container is malicious or not, and so on. And we want to provide a better remediation capabilities that might have help with fixing some of and resolving some of the issues that might be the reason for this specific incident to happen. So when we talk about the future, I would believe that we will go into those areas. Obviously, we want to provide more detections, help with automations in some areas that will also we can automate some of these specific response action to disrupt it before the specific attack could evolve to even greater impact. So this is where we are going. This is where we are talking with the customers, and as part of the feedback, we are receiving great feedback from the customers. They love how fast the isolation action works and the response action work, and they enjoy how we can provide a full visibility on the incident, how an attacker, even when he exploit a specific vulnerability in pod, which we can detect all his malicious actions, we can also detect his entire attack lifecycle, whether he go and exfiltrate a sensitive data from storage account. All this will be correlated together to one single incident, and it's crucial when we talk with security analysts how to see everything in one specific incident because it helps them to save a lot of time and effort to provide all these building blocks together to better understand what exactly happened and will obviously help them to remediate the threat faster, sooner, and smarter.
Yes, this is outstanding. Not only the feature is great as is right now, the vision is absolutely fantastic where we are going with this. And it's an evolution because I remember the last episode that we recorded, we were talking about correlation. So now we are taking things to the next level. So thank you very much for your time, for putting this demonstration together and to record this. Congratulations again on this amazing feature.
Thank you very much.
And see you again next time.